On paper, it looks like one of the most desirable suburbs near Pittsburgh. Strong schools, charming neighborhoods, and that classic walkable business district vibe. Sounds perfect, right? Not quite. There are hidden costs that can sneak up on you that sometimes gets overlooked. There's traffic, school transportation, property taxes, and some have said that this area is overpriced for what it offers. If you're considering a move to Pittsburgh and you're struggling with figuring out which place is going to be best for you, I'll help you answer some questions in this video. I help a ton of families relocate to the Pittsburgh area, and this area is always being discussed in our initial phone call. I commonly have people asking questions about Mount Lebanon, but before you decide Mount Lebanon is the place you want to land, there are a few things you really need to understand about what day-to-day life really looks like here in 2026. I'm Tim Phillips, a local real estate agent here in the Pittsburgh area, and I work with a lot of people like you that need help making a move to our area. When the time is right, I would love to be your realtor of choice with helping you make a move to our area. It's my goal with this channel to be your most trusted resource, answering all of your questions that help you make a decision on whether this area is in your best interest. So let's break down what it's actually like to live in Mount Lebanon right now. So let's start with why so many people fall in love with Mount Lebanon. First, there's the schools. Mount Lebanon School District has a strong reputation in the Pittsburgh area. That's a huge motivating factor for families who want to give their kids good opportunities with strong academics, competitive athletic programs, and that community feel where everyone's at the football game on Friday night. Mount Lebanon is currently ranked as the #2 best school district in the Pittsburgh area and #4 in the state by niche.com. This ranking is consistent as Mount Lebanon is regularly towards the top when discussing best schools in the Pittsburgh area. But there is a drawback. Mount Lebanon doesn't provide any bus transportation for students. Kids will either walk to school with their friends from the neighborhood or parents will have to drive them. This is something to seriously consider because, as I've mentioned in my previous videos, we can get all kinds of weather here in Pittsburgh. There can be lots of rain, snow, and low temperatures during the winter, so this could be a factor you may want to consider. The average SAT score for students here sits around 1290, and that's really good. To put that into perspective, that's putting your child in the 85th to 90th percentile of scores, which can make them very competitive when it comes to applying for colleges. A second reason people love Mount Lebanon is the walkability in business districts. This is definitely a great feature. Mount Lebanon is one of the few suburbs where you can actually live in a neighborhood and still walk to coffee shops, restaurants, local businesses. This area is the most versatile between dining options, desserts, coffee, and shopping. This is that Washington Road corridor, and the surrounding streets give you more of that old school, small town Main Street vibe that a lot of people are craving when they're leaving more car-dependent suburb. The other area of Mount Lebanon that offers this is right near Beverly Road. You can grab your morning cup at Coffee Tree Roasters or Mediterra Cafe, which also has some really good food options too. Other dining options on Beverly Road include Iavino's, F&F Pizzeria, which is more of a New York style pizza, and Little Nippers, which is going to be a more traditional style pizza. Once you finish your pizza, Scoops on Beverly is right next door. You can imagine that's a super popular spot for families and kids and going to get some local ice cream in the area. Another reason people love Mount Lebanon is what it offers with parks and recreation. You've got neighborhoods with sidewalks, tree-lined streets, local parks, and easy access to things like baseball fields with batting cages, tennis courts, pickleball courts, bocce courts, playgrounds, and community events. On a nice weekend, you'll see families out walking, kids biking around the block, and people heading to local games or practices. The tennis courts are practically filled most hours of the day. And just recently, Mount Lebanon has added 6 new pickleball courts to support the growing demand and popularity with that sport. Some of the more frequently used parks and trails are Twin Hills Park, Robb Hollow, and Bird Park being the most popular. And wrapping up this section, let's talk about the Mount Lebanon Rec Center. It's located right below the high school, next to the tennis courts and pickleball courts. It has an NHL-sized ice rink inside, along with a huge 50-meter outdoor swim center with a zero-depth kids area, double slide tower, rock climbing wall, and lap lanes. Now the fourth reason, let's talk about the overall character and architecture of Mount Lebanon. It's not a suburb full of cookie-cutter new construction. You get older homes with charm, different architectural styles, mature trees, and streets that feel established. For buyers who want personality and that this feels like a real neighborhood energy, Mount Lebanon definitely checks a lot of boxes. The price trend for homes in this area are still on the rise and are appreciating at roughly 4 to 6%, which is more normal for our area. The median days on market for 2025 and so far for 2026 was right at 17 days. That suggests that we are in a very fast-moving market with high buyer demand. Homes aren't lasting on the market very long. They're going up listed for sale, and if they're priced correctly, they're going under contract very, very quickly. So if you're a buyer, it's all that more important for you to have all your ducks in a row so you truly understand how you need to compete in order to make sure that you get the home that you want. The median sales price for a 3-bedroom home in this area is just sitting below $400,000. And if you're better off with 4 bedrooms or more, that price point is going to jump up to $600,000. We're currently at 1.7 to 2.4 months of inventory, depending on what kind of home you need. This is far off from the measurements that suggest a balanced market, which is typically around 4 to 6 months of inventory. In short, Mount Lebanon doesn't have enough homes for sale, and there are too many buyers where it keeps the prices high and the demand strong, which if you're currently a resident, you love. And it's another reason why people seek to live in this area because of the long-term stability with owning a home here. And finally, there's a location. You're in the South Hills. You can get into the city. You've got access to transit options. And you're close to what a lot of people want in greater Pittsburgh without feeling like you're right in the middle of downtown. Mount Lebanon is about 5 to 8 miles south of downtown Pittsburgh, and you're looking at about 20 minutes worth of commute time by driving. And you also have your public transport options, which is either going to be the T or a bus. You're in close proximity to different dining options, St. Clair Hospital, great schools, coffee shops, hardware stores, grocery stores, entertainment, and there's plenty more I can name, but too many to name for the sake of this video. So what's the fine print and what's the trade-offs? Now, everything I mentioned sounds really great, and it is great for the right person, but Mount Lebanon comes with some trade-offs that you really need to factor in. Let's talk about price. Compared to some nearby suburbs, you are going to pay a premium for that combination of schools, walkability, and charm. The homes may be a little smaller or older for the same budget than what you could get in, say, parts of Peters Township or South Fayette, where newer construction and bigger lots are more common. If you're coming from an area where newer and bigger homes are the norm for your price range, you're going to have to make some adjustments. Next are the taxes and cost of ownership. Property taxes plus the cost of maintaining an older home are things you have to be honest with yourself about. Those beautiful older houses with character can also come with older roofs, older plumbing, and projects that don't always show up in listing photos. Now, this isn't meant to scare you in any way or make you think that every home here needs updated and has some terrible infrastructure, but some homes do need more maintenance than others. So you're buying into more of an established suburb, and that often means ongoing maintenance should be considered when buying. Then there's parking in the terrain. In some of the more walkable business district adjacent areas, you're getting narrow streets, tighter parking, and driveways or garages that weren't designed around today's giant SUVs. Combine that with the Pittsburgh hills and winter weather, and you'll want to think about where you're parking, what your daily routine really looks like in January, February, and March. Now, your traffic and commute is something to mention. You're not sitting in traffic like a major metro gridlock city, but you do have certain choke points in times of the day where things back up more than people expect from looking at a map. It's actually worth driving your commute morning and afternoon so you know what that feels like. Even a 10 to 15 minute difference each way can change how you feel about a suburb once you've lived there for a year. And then finally, it's the lifestyle aspect. How does this fit your lifestyle? If you're expecting a suburban area with big flat yards, wide new streets, and everything built within the last 10 to 15 years, Mount Lebanon isn't it for you. It's more mature, more compact in some areas, and the charm is tied to being an older established community. So let's go over like a little pocket by pocket breakdown. So within Mount Lebanon, there isn't just one experience. Where you land inside the suburb matters a lot. If you want the most walkable experience, being able to walk to shops, restaurants, maybe grab a coffee, hit a local event, you want to be closer to where the main business districts are and transit access. That's where you get more of the park your car and live your life that people are seeing in all the photos online. If you're drawn to quieter streets, more yard space, and a true residential feel, there are parts of Mount Lebanon that sit just off the busier corridors and feel much more neighborhood focused. Now, you might give up some walkability in that area in exchange for more peace and less activity right outside your front door. But you're still only a short drive from shopping, dining, and entertainment. If you want to go to Washington Road or Beverly Road corridor, there are some parking lots there and parking garages to make it easier, and there's also on-street parking as well. Beverly Road is going to have more of on-street parking and a little parking lot tucked behind some of the businesses. But one of the main nearby hubs is also the Galleria in Mount Lebanon. That's located at the most southern point of the community. And parking there is pretty straightforward. It comes with a covered parking garage and it has some open air spaces as well. And inside and around the Galleria, you'll find a mixture of restaurants like Panera Bread, Mitchell's Fish Market, and Houlihan's. Plus, there's a Starbucks there for all you coffee lovers. There's a movie theater for entertainment. There's Learning Express, which is a toy store. There's a business there that provides fitness options if you want to get a class. There's a cigar bar, and there's plenty of shopping, including Anthropologie, Pottery Barn, Talbot's, Orvis, and more. If commute convenience is a big deal for you, there are parts of Mount Lebanon where hopping onto main routes or transit is just a little easier. If you know you've got a regular drive into certain job centers, that's something to consider when you're looking at different pockets of Mount Lebanon. And price-wise, even different streets and little micro areas can feel a little different in terms of what your budget gets you. When I'm working with buyers, we're not just picking Mount Lebanon or nothing. We're narrowing it down to a few specific pockets that line up with how they actually want to live their day-to-day life. So who's Mount Lebanon not for? This is just as important as who it is right for. If you want a brand new house with a completely open floor plan and huge closets in a big flat yard in a newer subdivision, there's a good chance you're going to be happier in a different South Hill suburb where that type of development is more common. And if you're extremely sensitive to property taxes and maintenance costs, or you don't want to deal with the realities of owning an older home, Mount Lebanon might not feel worth the trade-off for you. If you hate dealing with the idea of tighter parking, narrow streets, or some hills in the winter, you may want to look at areas where the layout is a little more spread out and forgiving. And if your perfect lifestyle is a super modern, brand new suburban environment with big box retail right around the corner and everything designed around the car, there are other suburbs that will line up with that vision more so than Mount Lebanon will. So at the end of the day, Mount Lebanon is an amazing fit for a lot of people, but it is not the right answer for everyone, even if it keeps showing up on the best suburbs list that you're Googling. If you're thinking about moving to the Pittsburgh area and you're trying to figure out whether Mount Lebanon or other suburbs in our area are actually the best fit for you, that's where I come in. I help people every week compare these suburbs based on their lifestyle, commute, and budget that best fits them before they start flying in, seeing homes, and making offers. If you want help narrowing down your list and putting together a game plan, reach out to me at my email address below. All my contact information is also in the description. I'd love to help you make a smart move to our area in the Pittsburgh suburbs. Thanks again for watching. See you next time.